This is an air brake test tutorial by Christina Sinclair. This air brake test tutorial will go over the proper air brake testing procedures on an MCI D series with an automatic Allison transmission. There are air brake test components. These test components are the applied service brake test, low air warning test, pop-up test, air buildup test, governor cut-in test, governor cut-out test, and the parking brake test. The applied service brake test is done to ensure that the air system has no leaks and the coach is able to safely brake and hold, such as at a red light. First, ensure that the chocks are in place. If you don't know what chocks are usually the thick rubber triangular doohickeys that go underneath the tire to ensure it from rolling forward or back. The air supply should be fully charged. The engine should be off. The master switch or electrical switch should be in the on position so the gauges can be read. Ensure the transmission is in the N or neutral position. Release the parking brake by firmly pushing down on the knob. Simultaneously, apply full pressure on the service brake and hold for 60 seconds or 1 full minute. The PSI will drop during the initial application. This is okay. After initial application, the gauge should not drop more than 3 psi in 60 seconds or manufacturer's specification. If the coach failed, do not drive. Apply the parking brake by pulling up firmly on the knob and notify a supervisor. If the coach passed the applied service brake test, move on to the low air warning test. The low air warning test is done to ensure that the low air warning system is working and is able to alert the driver if there was too low of air pressure for the brakes to safely operate. Moving on from the previous test and flowing into this one, slowly make full repetitive compressions of the service brake, draining the air supply. There should be a beeping or buzzing sound on or before the gauge reaches 60 psi or half of the full psi amount based on manufacturer's specifications. On the dash, a light or message saying low air should also appear. If the coach failed, do not drive. Apply the parking brake by pulling up firmly on the knob and notify a supervisor. If the coach passed the low air warning test, move on to the pop-up test. The pop-up test is done to ensure the parking brake will come on automatically if the coach has too low of air pressure. Not every coach has or needs this feature based on manufacturer specifications. Please note if the coach you are using is equipped for this test before continuing. For instance, the MCI D series does not have a pop-up test. But I'll let you know what to do anyway. Continue to apply full repetitive compressions to the service brake after the low air warning system has gone off. The parking brake knob should pop up and automatically apply between 40 and 20 psi or manufacturer specifications. If the coach failed, do not drive. Apply the parking brake by pulling up firmly on the knob and notify a supervisor. If the coach passed the pop-up test, move on to the air build-up test. The air build-up test is performed to ensure the coach is able to build enough air within the amount of time necessary to have fully functioning brakes while driving. Apply the parking brake by pulling up firmly on the knob. Simultaneously, release the service brake. Turn the engine on. Turn on the fast idle. The air supply should rise from 85 psi to 100 psi within 45 seconds or manufacturer's specifications. If the coach failed, do not drive. Apply the parking brake by pulling up firmly on the knob and notify a supervisor. If the coach passed, move on to the governor cut-in test. The governor cut-in test is done to ensure the air compressor is working properly and will kick in within a timely manner when PSI falls. Release the parking brake by firmly pushing down on the knob. Simultaneously, apply full pressure onto the service brake. Slowly make full, repetitive compressions to the service brake, draining air supply. Stop when the gauge reads at least under 100 psi, preferably 80 psi. Remember that the coach is still on and the fast idle switch is still on. So this should happen automatically. Reapply the parking brake by pulling up firmly on the knob. Simultaneously release the service brake. The gauge should immediately start to climb back up in air pressure. If the coach failed, do not drive. Apply the parking brake by pulling up firmly on the knob and notify a supervisor. If the coach passed the governor cut-in test, move on to the governor cut-out test. The governor cut-out test is performed to ensure the air compressor is able to stop from overfilling the air tanks. If the air tanks become overloaded, they may explode, causing damage to other parts of the coach or injuring people around the coach. Watch the air supply climb to 120 psi to 130 psi or manufacturer specifications. Listen for the coach to sneeze or cut out. Many of you may have heard a commercial vehicle next to you make that psh sound. That is the governor cut out. If the coach failed, do not drive. Apply the parking brake by pulling up firmly on the knob. Turn the coach off and notify a supervisor. If the coach passed the governor cut-out test, move on to the final test. The parking brake test. The parking brake test is done to ensure the coach will not move when the parking brake is applied. Turn the fast idle off. Hover your foot over the service brake. With the parking brake on or up, change transmission to D or drive. Remember, this is an automatic transmission. The coach should stay in place and not lurch forward or roll at all. If the coach failed, do not drive. Place the coach back into neutral. Ensure chocks are still in place and notify a supervisor. If the coach passed, then you're ready to hit the road safely. Thank you for watching. Hope you learned something.